Listen to this, blurts a boy loitering outside a grocery store. He works his way through a long and strange story about a dead woman in a yellow ribbon. There, what do you think? Holy shit, you know this story. Story of the elegant woman in the small town, but wildly altered. For a couple of minutes, you're too surprised to respond. Seriously, the boy insists. What do you think about that one? It can't be real. Surprisingly, the boy's delighted. That's what I told my brother. But he dunked me in a rain barrel and punched me. That sucks, you tell him. The kid shrugs. I put wasps in a cup and held it on his back while he was sleeping. So we're square now, I guess. Damn, kid. That's cold. Then my brother died of anaphylactic shock, so like, fuck him anyway, right? Fuck that guy. Okay, so the miner went back up north, where I got all these stories. Back in, he went up to... Yeah, okay. Well, let's keep heading south. Okay, let's go see here.
Well, I'm gonna scroll my name on the bare bones of
The soldier sits in the dirt with his legs splayed out, like a child would sit. Beneath the tattered fabric of his antique uniform, several open wounds fester in the hot sun. Lend a hand, traveler?
How'd you get hurt, dude?
Well, it's a Fed ambush. I'm the only survivor. Even killed the horses. Got him mad with what we pulled off in Lawrence. As the soldier talks, blood rises from his wounds like plumes of red smoke. Lawrence the town, not the fella. Rounded up anyone old enough to hold a gun and burned the place down. A vague tension runs underneath the silence. You realize you can't see the soldier's hands. Say, stranger, where you from?
I travel.
Where you going, Yankee? A bowie knife flies past your head, so close the wind tickles your ear. It sticks in a tree with a solid thump that clears the squirrels and birds out of the branches. When you look back, the wounded soldier's nowhere to be found.
The song sounds like a Decemberist song. Hey, Clary. Happy anniversary. Ah, there we go. So the game does run into the same problem that every single open world with a fast travel system does, that I don't want to use it because there's so much to collect while I walk around. So I guess if I wanted to get home, if I wanted to get back, I guess that's what the fast travel's for, right?
Faded shotgun houses sit in rows under the tall shadows of smokestacks. A worker in full uniform hollers from a porch. Hey, traveler, throw me inside. Got some literature here.
I do love literature.
As you shut the door, the man glances out the window and draws the shades. Landlord toss you out? Ha, don't mind me, it's none of my business. He pries up a floorboard with a crowbar. You glance over the man's shoulder to see inside the compartment. Canned goods, a pile of leaflets, the wood stock of a rifle. He replaces the board and stands.
Look away.
He hands you a can of whole potatoes, then a leaflet which reads, "No evictions, no fascists, no hunger."
Fuck yeah.
Headed back to the shop, but we'll have a Bible meet soon.
Bible meat?
Bible meet. If you don't know James 5:1 by heart, learn it. That's our favorite scripture.
James 5:1, warning to the rich. Come now, you rich, weep and howl for the miseries that are coming upon you. Your riches have rotted, your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver have corroded, and their corrosion will be evidence against you, and will eat your flesh like fire. You have laid up treasure in the last days. Behold, the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields, which kept back by fraud, are crying out against you, and the cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord of hosts. You have lived on the earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fattened your hearts in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the righteous person. He does not resist you. Hallelujah. Woo! That's some good shit. Welcome to the squad. It's a first communion, looks like, and the photographers are struggling to keep up with the flow of family photos outside the church. Can you write? They demand. For hours, you scribble names, take notes, keep the line orderly. For an afternoon's work, it pays very well. Yeah. I got paid. Finally. Okay.
We need a sixth.
Ooh.
She told you, beckoning from the steps of a great dark mansion. And just like that, you found yourself sitting with strangers around a velvet-draped table. Her voice is reedy and high, modulated by the tight collar of her Victorian dress.
Join hands, everyone.
Oh shit, they got that Luigi board.
Your host keeps her eyes closed as she beseeches the spirits of the dead. But everyone else around the table lets one lingering, awkward glance bounce around between them. You sense they're just about done humoring her when it happens. A deep, nasty thump beneath the table. The whole table starts to shake, threatening to lift right off the ground. And then, the staid candle flames start flickering like mad, casting ghastly shadows on the walls. And then, a viciously cold wind cuts through the parlor like sharpened ice.
Yeah, this is what happens when you hang out with Vincent Price.
The damned candles are dancing in midair around you now, singeing a hair here and there off the coiffed heads of these well-heeled guests. You notice your host across the table has her eyes open wider than they should go. A rivulet of blood dripping from her nose.
Keep holding.
When you come to your senses, sunrise has begun to creep in. The parlor is empty but for you and the woman in the old-fashioned dress, who slumped dejectedly over the table.
He didn't show up. All that sound and fury, and no sign of his spirit.
Cool. Good seance, bros. Let's head over to Charlotte.
His smile lights up the room, or rather the cab of the locomotive. Folks gather round as he holds the pull cord. He's a showman through and through. You'll want to cover your ears now for this next part. Sure doesn't help much. Engineer pulls that chain and the whistle blasts inside your skull. He just smiles through it all. Man must be half deaf.
Darnation!
A round of applause erupts from the small crowd. He passes out bubble gum to the shell-shocked kids, half of them in awe, half in tears.
Get shuffled on.
Remember now who gets you there on the advertised. Casey Jones. Everyone's all talk as they head back to their seats. That engineer sure is handsome. Gosh. And that whistle sounded just like a whippoorwill, didn't it? Ain't this the way to travel?
Casey Jones, the theatrical railroader. Friend to turtles. Need some cash? A man asks. If this guy asks you if you need cash, it's a dangerous business. Hey, Dr. Freeze. A man asks, he just moved in down the street and needs help. Carrying boxes from the curb into the house. Threw my back out this morning, he sighs. Lift with your legs, that's my tip. You take his advice and he pays you well.
He sings as he works, his voice warm and soft as the late afternoon sun. The air's sweet with the tang of recently cut sugar cane.
Oh man, what are you
There's
making?
a practiced,
Is it bourbon?
almost
Can it be bourbon?
soothing precision to the way he works. He looks up and nods hello. Making molasses,
Oh, I see.
he says to your unasked question. I sell the black stripe in town. Farmers use it for feed. Bitter as hell. He grins.
Can I try some?
Got some set aside. He comes back with a murky flask, waving off any offer of payment. I ain't charging. Folks around here need what they can get. Makes a mean loaf of bread. He nods at the barrels. I'm about done filtering. Got to boil it next. Lend a hand?
Well, I'm happy to help. I don't need to ask for money.
You help him haul the barrels over to the metal boiler. You pour in the juice and set the fire. It's hot work. He fetches water and dark bread, and you share the small meal and a smile. It's good to find another who takes joy in honest labor.
The man who made molasses. Sorry, we'll find our bourbon eventually, friends. Charlotte, yeah, North Carolina. Okay, so let's upgrade our story. Hey, another wait a second. This is another kid. I know you. Listen to this, blurts a boy loitering outside the grocery store. He works his way through a long and strange story about the cloud tinged with a color no human had seen before. There, what do you think? So it's the same story, but with pieces swapped out. Seriously, what do you think of that one? That's a great story. Thanks. I heard it from my brother. Before he died, because I killed him with all those wasps. Okay, I need to head back south through South Carolina. And we'll go talk to this guy in Georgia, I guess. That'll be our next stop. Okay, so which direction are we? Oh boy, I don't have a map, hey? Or I don't have a compass. I think I'm going south. Yeah, there's the camp. I can see it, the little fire in the distance. Oh, I'm getting tired now. All right, well, maybe by the time I get there. I guess if I go to the road. Oh yeah, if you stand still. Oh no, it's left click. Left click gives me a compass. Got it. Okay, I'm gonna go try to I'm gonna try to hitchhike, and we'll head that way. How do I hitchhike again? It's the... There it is. Alright, pick me up.
Cause when that ferryman comes for to tally up my worth, I won't
Pick me up, yeah.
that can be found.
Hey, bud. Taking the highway through Carolina. Coming up on Georgia.
Well, I'm gonna heft my spade up upon my weary back. I'm gonna keep lacerates tucked in my soul.
Can I get out of the car, or where does he
Cause
take
when
me?
my coals burn
Yeah, there we go.
low and my trains run out of track, won't be no
Savannah. Okay. Well, let's hit these three before we talk to this guy, because more stories are always good.
A sign in town says a farmer is hiring for the sugarcane harvest. A bag-eyed man drives you and 10 hungry strangers out into the cane, where he leaves you. Everyone gets a hatchet, but no instruction. The foreman is missing for some reason. Nobody is sure what to do.
Interesting.
A young man in a red jacket stuffs all the hatchets in his pack. "This is stupid," he says. "I'm leaving. You can get $5 for a nice axe like this." He marches off into the cane, and others follow. "Don't!" a young woman shouts after them. "It's not right."
You don't know that farmer shit.
You trot after the thief. For some reason, though, the path back out to the road is narrower and darker than you remember, and the sun is lower in the sky, and the mud sucks harder at your boots than it did a minute ago. Soon, you've lost track of the others.
Hey, anybody?
You're pushing through the cane, coated to your thighs in mud. The sun is missing. You hear voices ahead, but you can't see
Hey,
anyone.
help!
You stumble out onto the bank of a pit. At the bottom, sugarcane stalks push up, twisted and crazy through a mat of bones, rusted hatchets, and ripped scraps of red jacket. Shit. You turn and bolt through the cane and burst suddenly out onto the dry road and the hot sun.
Awesome. The hatchet thief who met a strange death in the sugarcane field. That's a good story.
No fence, gate, or sign marks the entrance to the cemetery. Just a moment ago, you weren't surrounded by graves, and now you are. How long have you been stepping on dead folks, fully unaware?
Yeah, the combination of the writing and the voiceover is real good.
A wood board, bleached white. Unknown. The word was painted on black by a steady hand, each letter signed with a flourish. Whoever made this memorial had more compassion than money.
Let's hold a moment of silence.
You're already quiet, so maybe it's silly. But you instill that silence with intent.
Such good writing.
What else could someone do? A sparrow calls. Seems birds don't have much respect for the dead. You notice the grave marker isn't dug into the ground, just propped up on a tree. Looks nicer now, but unmoored as these markers are, this grave in front of this tree, does this memorial even belong to it?
The anonymous grave. All right, we got one more, and then we're going to come back and do this camp. You wait in the soup line for over an hour. It's barely crawling along. You round the corner of the building and see far away a lone pair of nurses struggling to ladle out soup for hundreds. Gonna be waiting here a while longer, sighs the mother in line beside you. Seems like it. Hey, Chucky. You and her get to talking. After a while, the topic drifts to a strange place. He starts to tell you about the blessed lighthouse sanctuary, where souls in love could find respite. You recognize it as a story about the two lighthouse keepers, but more outrageous than your version. You tell her your version. Oh, that's not as exciting, she says diplomatically. I mean, it sure sounds realer than what I heard, but I think Toby likes mine best. She bounces her child, encouraging on her hip, but Toby's too hungry to smile. Toby's pissed as fuck. All right, I like that we upgraded our gay story. That baby was mad. All right, camp time, let's rest. Yes! Austin.
Evening there. You looking for a sermon or just a chat?
So Austin wrote this character.
Don't really matter, frankly. First thing I ever learned behind the pulpit is that every homily is just a conversation. Ain't as one-sided as you might think, either. Preachers ain't shepherds. They're cowboys. They gotta run with the flock, keep them directed without fencing them in. So how about you take a seat and guide us somewhere? Anyway, tell me a tragic story, something with true grief.
Some sad, huh? I wonder what the color of of those tells me. All right, what's our saddest story? An anonymous grave? Oh, the World War I veteran. Yeah, that's pretty sad. Mason's lost. That's a good one. Yep. That's the saddest thing we've seen so far.
God's cruel sometimes, ain't he?
Yeah.
Death? Well, Ma died a few years after I was born. Pops used to tell me she was beautiful and that I had her eyes and her sense of conscience, but he always said it like it was an insult.
I like the background music in this section too.
You must have seen some pretty wild stuff on the road. What's the most exciting thing you've seen?
Exciting, hey? A seance. That's scary, I guess. Casey Jones might be a good one. Been arrested for bootlegging. Let's see. The taxi that shows the future. Haunted Mill. It's a pretty good one. I think the Casey Jones ones is probably the most exciting. Theatrical Railroader. I'm gonna tell that one.
I swear I ain't heard a story good as that in a long minute.
There you go.
Travel? Oh, I travel. Moving's in my blood. Pops traveled all over to wrestle. And even after I stepped out on my own, I kept moving.
Wrestle, Dad.
Travel? Oh, I travel. Moving's in my blood.
I know, that's
Pops
what you
traveled
said.
all over to wrestle. And even after I stepped out on my own, I kept moving.
I've been everywhere. Chicago, New York, Atlanta, Houston, Los Angeles. Paris. I even been to Paris.
I've been everywhere. Chicago, New York, Atlanta, Houston, Los Angeles. Paris. I even been to Paris.
I love the way he said Atlanta. Atlanta.
Lately, my journey's been pretty ordinary. Just walking, church to church. What about you? Been on any adventures?
Atlanta. Ah, it's so good. That pronunciation just gets me. Been on any adventures? I know that's how you say it, but some people say it Atlanta. Like it rhymes with Mylanta. I've been Atlanta. Yeah. It's a degree of voice acting authenticity that makes this character feel like he fits into the space. It's like Toronto versus Tirana. Okay, so he wants what did he say? What kind of stories do you want? Thrilling. All right. Thrilling story. The taxi that shows its riders the future. That's pretty exciting. A Seance, that's pretty exciting too. I got a couple of good exciting ones. The Headless Horseman's a good one too, yeah. Yeah, let's I want to tell him the Taxi future one.
You've got a pretty wild life. You know that?
I do know that.
You ever notice how different folk think about the future in entirely different ways? Talk to a man up in Harlem, Hat Man, sells hats, and he's talking about quarters and fiscal years. Talk to one of them boys at the Shaw School, they start yapping about automation and aeroplanes. But when I talk to my auntie down in Macon, she can't see past her next payday. Some folks don't have the privilege of the future. Lately, my journey's been pretty ordinary, just walking church to church. What about you? Been on any adventures?
Another adventure story? All right. I got, I'm sure I got another one here somewhere. I wonder if this is like a scary one or, the seance? That's pretty exciting. That might be a scary story though. I'll tell him the bootlegger story. That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, Macon's in Texas, right?
I
Macon?
swear I ain't heard a story good as that in a long
Georgia.
minute.
It's Georgia.
Authority? People look to me for leadership, but I tell them that real leadership comes from community. The best preachers are cornerstones, not prophets. You must have seen some pretty wild stuff on the road. What's the most exciting thing you've seen?
Dude, he just like wants the thrills. All right, how about I tell you a thrilling story about a winged goat? Because I'm already maxed out, so.
Huh, that one's trying to be scary, right? Don't work on me, I guess.
So now we know.
Home? Never had a home. Not the way y'all talk about it anyway. Pops and I had a little trailer for the summer he was wrestling in Atlanta, but otherwise, it was a new floor every week. Well, I gotta get moving on. I have a sermon to give in the morning, and the church is a long night of walking that way.
All right, bud.
Walk like you're blessed, child, because even if you ain't, that's the only way you'll find your holy self.
Walk like you're blessed, child, because even if you ain't, that's the only way you'll find your holy self. That is some good shit. Nice. Nice shit, Jimmy. That's right, he traveled, was just wrestle dad. Let's get an upgrade for our story. That's a soup line one. You can tell me about it this time. The rising workers movement in New York. A story about the determined socialist. Nice. Okay, well, your kid doesn't care about socialism, but I'm glad to upgrade that story. All right, we said we were heading down, all the way down bottom of Florida there, so let's make it happen. Yeah, Evan, I feel the same way. Like, there's not a lot of Vancouver in video games, or like it's a city that pretends to be other cities all the time, right? Like actual Vancouver is in a ton of stuff, but real Vancouver is pretty rare. So it is quite cool to see when that kind of thing comes up. All right, Jacksonville, what you got for us? You share this bus stop with an old man who shifts from foot to foot. I say, look at that mustache. Oh, damn. He shifts from foot to foot, thumbing his suspenders and watching the passing traffic with anxious focus. "Hey!" he blurts suddenly, turned towards you. "You want to hear a good story?" With the air of a man who's distracting himself from something, he quickly stumbles through a tale about Casey Jones, fastest railroader in America. "I say!" Confusing himself now and then, backtracking, adding new details out of order. You barely piece the story together. You suddenly realize he told you a twisted story about Casey Jones, but massively changed, with new trunks you don't remember. "It's true," the old man insists, turning his wincing eyes back to the road. And with that, the conversation's over. A horse auction. A well-dressed man waves you over. Making some big deals today, he brags, fingering a bill where you can see. Get me when number 60 goes up, okay? You stand in the crowd and wait, then run back to fetch him. He pays you absurdly well for doing almost nothing at all. That's what you like. Damn, King Rajesh. Ballin', thank you. Also, Neutral Fox, welcome back.
You rest in a field where a well-dressed stranger talks your ear off on all manner of subjects. The weather, fireflies in summer, how combine harvesters work. After a while, the mood shifts.
Heard my death bones this morning.
Your death bones?
Death bones. Heard 'em rattle like clank, clink, clank. More startling than wind chimes in a tornado.
He plucks dry grass and chews on a piece.
Ain't much time left now.
Uh-oh.
That don't matter. I'm fine. Got my savior waiting at the pearly gates.
The man shifts uncomfortably.
At least I do as of this afternoon, I hope. Nearly knocked the pastor's door down earlier. Sure was good to meet you.
The man pauses, rubs his chin in contemplation.
Don't let the bedbugs bite.
He walks off slow. After his silhouette becomes small in the horizon, but before he vanishes,
Damn.
you see him collapse to the ground.
So cold, just like, move on. The man who seemed alright with death. Dag. That's a good one.
The blistering sun has scared even birds into the shade. But a middle-aged woman and a young couple are still collecting scraps of cotton that the machinery missed. With a ragged voice, the older woman calls to you. Got any water?
Sure.
The three of them rush over to you, suddenly reanimated. They pass around your canteen. When you get it back, it's empty. The woman squeezes your hand and sighs with relief. Sweetest thing I ever tasted, she tells you.
Well, I mean, that's good, because now I don't have any more. The waitress at this diner is sharing an outlandish tale with one of her regulars. I heard it from my sister-in-law, she says. It happened to her daughter's friend, it's true. She notices you listening. Hey, have you heard this one before? She regales you with a story about the shootout between the female bootleggers and the cops. Halfway through, you realize it's the story of the women arrested for bootlegging, but highly embellished. What do you think of that? The waitress exclaims. Sure is. And true, every word of it. Wow, so now it's a shootout, not just some ladies got arrested. It's pretty good. We got another upgrade over here. The policeman in the truck in this corner is having a pretty wild argument with someone on the other end of the radio. No, he keeps saying. No way. You listen in as the man on the radio finishes the wild story about 4 identical men born to 2 different mothers who confuse themselves amongst each other. Wait a second. I swear this is what happens, the cop insists over the radio. That's when it clicks. You know this story. A stranger version of the story of 2 men who mistook the other for the missing brother, but some bits left out or replaced. Ain't true, the cop in the truck sighs. If only he knew. Wow, this town, shit, Jacksonville, you got some stories. Keeping me busy. A long black car growls up in front of this hotel. That's, oh God, such evocative writing. It growls up. Out steps a woman in an extravagant hat and coat, followed by a whole crowd of hangers-on. Is she a singer, an actress? You don't recognize her face, but to your surprise, you recognize the story she's telling. In a sharp transatlantic accent, she's telling everyone at her party a story about future Boston, where taxi rides cost $20. It's clearly the story of the taxi that shows the ride of the future, but changed in a few entertaining ways. Isn't that something? She asks. Her various followers agree. She pays the driver of the limousine and sweeps into the hotel like a thunderstorm of red velvet. Someone should do a picture about it, you hear her exclaim. Bye, Jacksonville. You were very useful, story-wise.
Electric lamps
that's
stipple
cool.
the cotton field before you with an orange light, moving like a group of lethargic fireflies. From the field, the voices of the workers reach you in a soulful, united song. You're gently lulled to sleep as the song floats over you. Hello, Lordy, pick a bale of cotton. Hello, Lordy, pick a bale a day.
Doze off.
You're pulled out of your slumber by a woman's pained scream and a collection of shouts rising from the field. The woman's screams taper off, soon replaced by the raw cries of an infant. Applause briefly fills the night, eventually fading back into song. Oh, Lordy, you wake up to the gentle crescendo of the worker's song, unsure if it ever ceased at all.
That's so cool.
Well, I'm gonna scroll my name
All right.
on the bare bones of the earth. I'm
I
gonna
guess this was the way we were headed. Yeah. Oh, because we're like out in the swamp. Right, and I'm going. That's northwest. We're gonna come back that way. St. Petersburg, one of the many towns in America named after places from other countries. This man can barely wait to get through the pleasantries before asking if you heard his story. 110% true, he says. I heard it from my nephew, and it happened to someone he knows well. The man launches into his telling. It's polished. He's obviously done this many times before. He tells you the story of the trickster who lures humans with magic stones. You recognize the bones of it from your experience with the girl. It's been embellished in the interim, though. Afterward, you thank the man and move onward. You'll have to remember that version, even if it's not quite what happened. Alright, you got a new story here, too.
Excusez-moi.
Beckoning you over, the woman shows you a letter, beautifully typeset on thick vellum. You're struck by the scent of a fancy department store. She points on the parchment to the address.
This address, you know?
Her accent is very thick. You are dismayed to read the first paragraph. Lorem ipsum dolor sit amet. And the address under the monogram in the letterhead. 12345 Road Street, Anytown, USA. The woman blinks, hopefully, leaning close over your shoulder.
Yes? You know this place?
She asks. Poor woman. She's been tricked.
Now, let's let her down easy.
This place doesn't exist, you try to explain as loud and slowly as possible.
Of course you exist.
Of course I
The woman
exist.
snorts, thumping a fist to her chest. You struggle to make yourself understood, but the poor woman whisks the letter away and stomps down the street. Ah, well. C'est la vie.
C'est la vie. Bonsoir.
The cave is really a man-made hole breaching into an earthen mound. The man, khakis dirtied by kneeling on the rough earth, has assembled a macabre little pile of skulls to the side.
A, macabre is a great word. B, skulls for the skull pile?
Readying these for sale, friend.
He wipes his hands on his pants.
An adventurer.
This pile of skulls, clearly claimed from his enemies by an Indian chieftain, would be perfect for any cabinet of curiosities or sideshow attraction.
Come on down and buy yourself a skull. Buy 2, buy 4. Come on, we're having a sale.
Why, these skulls belong to no one. They're just here, lying under this mound, waiting for an enterprising soul to make something of them. Isn't this what America's all about?
Yes, America is all about skulls. I agree.
Little sunlight reaches that deep in, but you can still see the skeletal remains, their heads carelessly removed, laying neatly in their excavated resting places, each one lovingly surrounded by stone effigies, earthenware, and copper plates in the shape of winged warriors.
Get the fuck out of here, nerd.
You pause and consider this small man, greedily arranging someone's remains as though they were a trinket for a mantelpiece.
Tell him to fuck off.
You've half a mind to kick him onto his ass. And having made that clear to him, he scurries off like the mole he is, much to your relief. It's the least you can do.
Tell him to fuck off is a good, like, second place for best option we've had so far. Comes right after Wave at Goat. Alright, southward ho. Hey, Cloud. Do I speak any other languages besides English? Un petit français, and a reasonable amount of Japanese.
He's small for his age. Boy of 13 or so, sitting on an upturned bucket by the side of a tiny wedge of farmland. The dog, as though by contrast, is massive. An enormous yellow-brown mutt. He's called Rover, the boy explains.
Paul says he can't come with us.
Where?
West.
Going west.
You notice the Model A truck on the yard, piled high with furnishings and trunks and bags and knots of rope to tie it all together. And upon all that, too, yet more dust and grit.
Paul says it has to be better.
Why can't Rover go?
With one toe tip, he scratches a parabola on the dead, dry ground.
Paul says we can't afford to feed Rover no more.
You can't tell where the blonde of the dog's coat ends and the omnipresent dust begins. Same goes for the boy's hair.
Will you take him?
So, once, interesting. Twice, coincidence. 3 times is a pattern. Parabola being mentioned 3 times is enough now for it to be a thing. A parabola is a symmetrical open plane curve formed by the intersection of a cone with a plane parallel to its side. Math stuff. A parabola is a graph of a quadratic function. Y equals x squared, for example. It's like an arc, right? Is a parabola an arch? Conical section? Math thing. Thanks, Wilhelm. Yeah, all right. I should take the. Okay.
Rover follows you eagerly after you feed him the tiniest sliver of jerky. But a few hours later, he snaps to attention, as though hearing some distant noise your ears can't catch. The last you see of him are the markings left by his dirty pelt on the leaves of the underbrush.
So you take the dog and then the dog runs off. Well, I'm not a good dog owner, I guess. Look at all this swampy terrain down here. Yeah, the dog just faded away. Oh yeah, we in Miami. All right, let me not the party town that it will become, but we're not tired yet, so let's hit these two stories, do that upgrade, and then maybe see what's in Miami.
First tree in a mile.
Whoa.
And it's a stout myrtle with bald branches. No relief from the sun out here. Leaves would help. Someone hadn't replaced them all with dusty glass bottles. You cool down in the shade. The breeze blows through the bottles, making a
Warriors,
series of heavy,
come
hollow
out and
sounds.
play, yay!
You think about
Warriors!
moonshiners and the smell of fresh pies on windowsills. The dense sound of many conversations cuts your nap short. There's no one around. Not until you look up at the bottles. They're filled with bright blue orbs, and words echo from them.
Thanks for over support.
None seem to
Welcome back.
notice your presence.
Listen to weeping, listen to laughter. I need some funny stories, so let's listen to laughter.
Can't get enough. Porcelain, chrome, the rusty ones. Gotta turn those sleek faucets. Ever find me in a hardware store, I'm gonna haunt it till the cows come home.
So they're like little
Laughter
ghosts caught in the
rumbles
tree.
inside neighboring bottles.
So good. Cool.
A family of 9 invites you into their home for a meal. Hogs roam free in the yard. They wallow in shady patches of cool mud, not paying any mind as you pass.
So this is what I love about English. This is what I love about the English language. As written, I can't tell if they wallow in shady patches of cool mud refers to the family of 9 or the hogs in the yard. Like, we obviously know through context that it's the hogs, but like, English does not give us enough information to be able to, it's probably both. Eat with the family, just get down in that mud.
During supper, the hard wind puts an awful burden on the walls. The glass dishes rumble on the table, but the mother seems calm.
Can't butcher a hog in these parts without me, Ma, hollering for pig's feet.
God damn it, Meemaw. Well, here, let's share with
The
Meemaw.
mother's heavy sigh gives you the impression her children ask this often.
Me, Ma, wants more pig's feet. Heaven can provide.
Yeah, Meemaw. Ask God for pig's feet. We ain't got enough. These fellas are lounging in front of a half-finished office building, taking their lunch break. Hey, one calls, waving down. Rick was telling us this story. Listen, okay? Then you can tell if it's bullshit or not. Rick, a credulous-seeming fellow, starts telling a story about the bottomless lake of clean water. You realize it's the story of the winged goat. Definitely part bullshit, but also a little real. Oh, that ain't bullshit. Half the group groans. How the hell is that supposed to be a real story? Exclaimed the man you waved down. You're all the most gullible pieces of shit I ever met. The other half of the group, vindicated, shares a bottle of pop with you. Cool. Story about the winged goat and some sweet, sweet soda. Seagulls scream overhead as you mosey down the beach. Out at sea, ships crawl along the horizon toward the harbor. The sun's a little intense, so you search for a scrap of shade. I have money now, so let's try to earn some, and then we'll hit the store. You wander the streets of the city, looking for a way to make some cash. I'm gonna panhandle again? I'm just gonna alternate these two. No luck today. I'm never gonna get any money. What can I buy? Clam chowder? Fried chicken? A sandwich? Or a hot apple cider? I'm gonna buy some fried chicken. All you wanted was a ton of pasta with sauce on it. Boy, this delivers. Okay, we're good. Let's... yeah, Cuban sandwich. That would have been good, too. Let's go to this camp. Dupree.
You look good, honey. You got a light? You like a good story?
Yeah, I'll search Miami after we talk to her.
I like to hear about people and make bets with them.
Okay.
I like to hear about the weird, handsome people. Get convinced by the rich jackasses who'll play blackjack and lose into the night. Dames who are lit cigarettes burning to the end. I want to be around furious people who use me and I use them. Are you one, stranger?
Okay. I mean, wow, this got real quite quickly.
Come close to me. Hey, got any exciting stories? Like the movies?
I mean, probably. Exciting stories. All right, what exciting stories do we have? Let's see here. That's a good. The bottle guy. Let's see. The seance might be a good one. I feel like she would be into the seance. But Casey Jones is a good one, and it's upgraded too. Let's tell that one.
Honey, thrills is the stuff I live on.
There we go.
That one will keep me going. I don't know if you've been on the road that long, stranger. 'Cause you ain't got that exhaustion in your face about moving 'cause you have to. Sometimes you just can't with people. And you, well, you look so hungry for talk right now.
Literally, my soul depends on it. A wolf stole it in a game of poker that he cheated. It's complicated. Don't worry about it.
Sometimes I'm in a hold'em with 5 other people and I look around and I think, I ain't been alone for 5 hours, and I might set fire to this whole place and walk out of here.
Big mood.
You ain't there yet.
I ain't been alone for 5 hours, and I might set fire to this whole place and walk out of here. Yeah, girl.
Got any stories with ghosts or murderers or blood or
Fuck
something
yes,
like that?
I do. Honey? Ghosts and murderers and shit? Fuck yes. Let's find a good one. Let's see, what's a good murder, ghost, death story? I feel like that one about... I have so many. Shootout between... Yeah, let's do this one. Murder and blood and guns and shit.
Keep that for the dime novels, honey.
What?
I don't read that
Oh,
stuff.
come on, that was a good story.
The
The Hatchet
law?
Thief would have been a good one, too.
I can get by with the law. The law thinks I'm a victim, a sad girl of the streets, a damaged girl, a girl who ain't got no fate and whose daddy didn't love her. My daddy's
Hey,
dead,
Vanquil.
and all cops are in my pocket, stranger. I will tell you that if I tell you anything. The law is bad for us Roman kids. It does not serve us. But you learn to get that sad, pale girl on. They love that.
Wow, she knows what's up.
Sometimes you gotta promise them something more and... Well, I don't say it's pleasant, but you born in a body. Sometimes people treat you like you need the power taken from it.
Oh, damn, so real.
Got any stories with ghosts or
Okay,
murderer?
yeah, I got murder, blood, ghost stories. Let me find the... Where's the one about the frickin' the hack... The one with the sugar cane. What kind of story is that? Hatchet Thief. There you go. There we go.
Just what I asked for. That spooky stuff gets my heart going like a good hand sometimes do.
I think she accidentally a word.
You know, I get cleared out now and then. Like being hit in the stomach, like being slapped up good and proper when you watch the chips move away from you. My portrait's on every good casino's wall, sweetheart, but I always come back like a bad penny. Because I can't lose, and I won't. and I'll take everything you got, and losing ain't shit to me when I can get back up. Hey, got any exciting stories?
Okay, exciting. Was the seance a creepy story or an exciting story? Let's try to tell a new one, too. Future Boston, but I've told that one again. Let's try something else here. It's kind of hard telling, yeah, which stories are what kind. I guess we could tell you a story about the kid and his Quinn's travels. Seance? Again, I can't tell if it's like gonna be scary or exciting. She kind of does look like Edna Krabappel. It's true. Let's see. Let's just try the seance one. I think it's probably a scary one. We haven't told it yet. Yeah, it is a scary one. That's okay. She's already full up, so.
I won big back in Reno when I got obsessed with luck. I was drinking absinthe at the time and smoking only darn European cigarettes that made me cough like a mule, and boy, after that win, I drank the green fairy good and smoked like a redwood bonfire. And you know what I learned? I learned to pick my tables and expect music on the jaw. Shit. Hey, got any exciting stories?
Girl. Exciting. The future one, maybe? Like, she seems like she just wants, like, kind of mundane, but whatever. Let's try the Boston story one. Yeah, you can't tell multiple stories to the same person, or the same story to someone multiple times, but she liked that one.
They should let you make the movies, honey. Tomorrow's the great gamble. There's a light out there on the horizon, a glow of something golden. There ain't something for all of us out there, but there's that hope. I can tell you're looking for it too. You know, if you stop to look down, there might not be anything below your feet, but you're still moving forward. Next time, let's up the stakes, shall we? Why don't we spend some time with bourbon and 5-card stud? You bring the bourbon, of course. And when the moon's fuller, I might let you in on some secrets on life. Have you any?
Why don't we spend some time with bourbon and 5-card stud? I'll bring the bourbon, you be the stud.